Present, welcome back to my channel, and we are going to continue with writing all detention script. Yesterday we were able to write the first part, the first two parts of our Jenkins pipeline. The first part that check the source code from our database directory, and then the second part that does a lint step on our Python application. So we ran into an error while trying to test what we did. First of we did everything manually, or we did everything line by line on our better repair, just to show that from our own that's so the developer can everything is working really fine. And then we tried to it's the same type of command down to our pipeline. So what we see ran into several errors which you were able to resolve them. The last error that you ran into yesterday was the pip install requirements.txt, where I had to cut short the GD because it was actually getting so long. This is the part 2 of that particular video. If it's not skin the test video, you have to go back to see the first one. It's just the video just before this one. Today that will be the 39, 39 or there. Yeah, that's the video test 38. Then that's the test my so the error we got here is that the environment is externally managed, and we were able to establish yesterday, but for Python we have to add a virtual environment. So we actually went into Jenkins container, installed Python, installed pip, then we also set up the virtual environment and what really PM stuff. So while looking at it, I eventually understood what the issue is. And the issue is not with the commands. The commands were all correct, but the way the commands get placed, that's where the issue is. Let me show you what I mean by that. So now, when you have, so I'm going to focus on this SH. So when you have several SH, that's several shell in a particular script, what it does is that for each of this command, a new shell is opened. What I mean by new shell is open is this is SH, and then the command that's following it is CD2 backend. So the moment this command runs, it gets out of this particular shell, right? So it moves to the next shell. That's when it enters the next line, it opens a new shell entirely, right? So now, when this Python 3 virtual environment ran, it wasn't actually in the backend. This CD to the backend was not even there again. Jenkins are really for us that have already left that particular level of the scope, right? So it worked because, well, Python is installed in the whole Jenkins container, so it doesn't be identity. Now, this also worked. Now, this is a new shell. Now, because Python is installed, tip is installed, a virtual environment was created and all of that, then this will actually work, right? But the problem now is that requirement.txt will not work because Jenkins is not in the backend folder. Jenkins is not in the backend folder, right? So there are two ways to actually go about that I'm going to show you, and I'll show you the first days and I'll show you the second days. In an ideal situation, the second way is going to be the data way. So let me show you the first thing today. Now, since you understand that Jenkins is not in the backend, is not in the backend folder, what we can just do is we can do backend / a connector .txt. It is going to work, right? But ideally, it's not. In some scenarios, you might need Jenkins to be in a particular place for a particular command to actually work. So we don't want a case where Jenkins will keep going in and out of the shell. So what we do is that we are going to now open a single shell and then put all this command in it. And how do we do that? Instead of having all these several shells, we just open a single shell like this. So we have, let me do this. So we have, how do you open a single shell? we have 3 of these, right? And then we'll come at the end, we have 3 of this. That is how you're making a single shell. So 3 of that's how do you call it? What is that, an apostrophe or what? Yes, at the beginning and at the end. Then you put all your command inside of this. Then it is open to just one shell and you're running a command. So when you do cd backend, Jenkins is on the backend. When you run the Python virtual environment, it is still in the backends. So now we now have to modify the what is in between. So I need to get rid of the remaining shells. So and this, and then finally this. Then there's one last scheme you want today. We don't need these apostrophes in the commands again, since you already have a shell open. So you remove all of this also. Remove this, and then this too, and this, then this and this. So I'm also going to edit this because I only want to run a test on my Python application. Because if you put like a dot, it runs the test on everything. It runs a test on everything. Though I can still put a dot, there's guidance. If you put a dot, it is still work. Because in the back end, there's only app.py there. But if you run it from the root, you might be running tests on so many things that you don't specifically want to run a test on the app.py. Either way, it's going to work. If you put a just, it's going to work. If you put but rough, since where we did the person read the dot, let's just use it dot here so that we don't copy the access. So let me copy it, and you have to run it again. And so now we've had about 8 trials on this particular part alone, and only 1% would happen. It is something that everybody in Turk basically encounters on a day-to-day basis. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to replace this with the new script, and let's see. So fingers crossed. I'm hoping that this should work now. There should not be any issues so that we can move on to the next stage of the pipeline. Okay, so if you notice, the CD and then all of these are coming immediately, right? It's happening immediately because this is a single shell. So everything will happen in a single shell. It's only one space, only one shell was opened. Or like before, where all of them would be opened one after the other, one after the other. So now it is installing. You can see now that we don't have any errors. The pip install requirement.txt. So it is installing all those things that are in requirement.txt. So successfully installed, blah blah blah. That's all the things that is there. So now it's already running this flick it command to test the app.py to be sure that everything there is okay and there are no issues. So we'll give it a second and we'll see the outcome of that. So by this is able to resolve the issue of that requirement access. So we can see that the command were actually correct. It is just the way it was placed. That is why that was why it is it didn't go that time, or it do not read the requirement.txt. So we ran into a failure, and let's see what happened. That's what happened. So now there's a long list of issues with this, and if you can see that everything I'm showing you, nothing has to do with the app.py. You can see init.py, you can see repl.py, and really nothing concerns us with all of this. These are just dependencies and libraries and all of that. We are not really too concerned about that. We want the lint test to carry that on app.py, right? So I wanted to show us this. So what I'm going to do is that I'll go and edit this again, and instead of having the dot, we have it changes to app.py. Changes to app.py. I don't need to copy this again. I will just go to my pipeline. So I'm just glad that we are all experiencing all of this Salentis data and really Adobe, because I don't want a case where I don't want anybody telling us that it's going to be perfect on your first try, or if you run into error, there's something maybe you're not doing anything wrong, or you're not doing anything right, or maybe you start feeling like maybe you don't know what you're doing, but no, it's very, very okay to actually run into errors. In fact, it's better for you to run into errors, because the more you run into errors, the more you are sharpening your troubleshooting skills. And that's one of the skills that sets you apart from an average engineer. For you to be the go-to person when there's an error, when there's an issue, that sets you apart from every other person. So these are one of the things that we face by trying to get pipelines. Nobody will kill you if you have 70 pipelines before it didn't send yokes. The main thing is for you to be able to get it to get and right, see where the error is, and give it a issue. So we go again, and then this is our 10th try. Let's see. Hopefully, I want this song to believe that yeah, negative had any issue. So, and rightly so, we have success. So our fake app.py didn't give us any errors. So we already ran this before. That is why you can see that this is not running as much as before. Again, is showing requirement already satisfied, because like I said, Jenkins is not just an abstract application. It's actually running with a container, and just assume that container to be a vector machine. So the same thing when we did it on my own vector machine, we had like correct data is the sensor. As you want to kind of say similar, when you run it by him, it does show you I'm correctly satisfied. Except the add another near thing to kind of the suit. So cool. Sorry about that. So now we have our second stage already completed. We've set out our code. We've done a test on our backend. That's our Python application. So what we are doing next day, you are going to build our image before you scan it here. No, instantly the bro, I was saying that the div comes before the scan. No, the div comes for the scan. If you want to scan the phone B, that means you will not be scanning the scanning maybe the source code, right? The thing you want to do is scan. The designing the first code, and only scan and the image after you break it. So the building of the image comes next after um after we've done the test. So we'll change this to image build and image scans. So this is quite easy. Since we already have it, we'll just create a shell, and it's already my intelligence of my VS Code already gave me the command to do that. So it's going to give me logger app hyphen later. However, I did a video pathetically on I said this is not the right way to pan your application. Yes, you can have a Nipens tag, right? But when you want to create another version, what happens to the start? Do you start with renaming and renaming? And I said it is not the ideal way to actually do. So now I'm going to change this because to something. But before I do that, there's something I really want to show you. So Jenkins has some inbuilt how do I put this? Let me go back to configure. Jenkins has like some inbuilt variables. Yes, that's the word. they have some inbuilt variables that you can just, implement in your pipeline. Let me go to the pipeline syntax. I saw it somewhere and I just want to, let me see, global variables reference. I think it should be here. It should be here. Yes, it's definitely going to be here. So, what I'm looking for is build number. So you can tag your image with the build number. You can tag your image there are so many ways for you to actually tag your image. So since this is a built-in variable, I'm just going to copy it and I'll reference it in our Jenkins file. So to make this more production like, I'm going to create some environmental variables at the top here. So I'll do environment. I'm going to take this. So Docker registry. I don't think I need this. Okay, the Docker registry. Let me put that. Docker registry is docker.io. Docker.io. My image name is logger app, and I want. Okay, so I'm going to have this. I'm going to have this big thing. Then now, here. Okay, no. Image name is logger app. I think I'll change this. Let me have Docker underscore username. Good. I'm going to use my personal Docker Hub account. So let me go to hub.docker.hub. So I'm going to sign in with my personal account. If you don't have a Docker Hub account, you can just easily sign up. And I want to log out of this. This is my work Docker Hub account. So I want to use my personal one. Let me sign in. So I use my Gmail account, which is my personal one. Continue. Okay, so this is my Docker username. So I'm going to put this here. So this is my Docker username, and I want to now have. I'm building two images. So I have the front end image. Front end image would be I represent it Docker username / logger app. So that's the front end image. So it will be my name / what did we name our image? I just want to be sure. Docker variables. So we have logger backend image, logger frontend image. Okay, Good. So we have logger front end image. So we're going to do the same for our backend image. We have our Docker username and logger backend image. So I have those in place. So I'm going to, the Docker registry actually do not need it. It's not paying any part there. So whether you indicate Docker registry or not, by default, it will pick docker.io as the registry. So I just don't want to complicate things. I'm just going to do, so for the build care, I'm going to do a reference is the variable. By now we should be very familiar with, working with variables and referencing variables. It's the same thing everywhere. So now you can notice that our pipeline is already getting longer. Unlike when we first did the skeleton framework where it was something really small. Yes, that is how you build complex pipeline. We build it step by step. You don't have to also everything. You take one step at a time. So in our reference content front end image, the front end image already has the Docker username, the name of the image. Then, if we want to tag, what we now do is that we would open this and pick build number. So, because Jenkins already has a default variable called build number, so I don't even need to reference it. I don't need to even put it here in my 0-day. When we want to start using, the commit has, then we'll start we'll start to create a variable for it. But since it's a built-in variable of Jenkins, we don't need to put it in our environment. So we're going to do the same thing. We'll do both the front end and the back end. So we can actually break it into two different states where we do the spontaneity and then have another state for back end. But not to waste too much time. And then now, if we do, we're referencing a dot. Dot means here you currently are, and Jenkins will be on the root folder of our file. Let me show you what I mean. So we are in git remote -z. So we are currently in, this is the root folder of our picture. That's another app. When I do ls-l, now there is no Docker file in the root folder. What does that mean? That means this command will throw an error because there is no Docker file in the root folder. Because what this does means is that build image from the Docker files because that is here, right? So they're going to change this to content, and then let me just accept the rest. So it have already automatically done that also. Now we have our front end is we have our backend in. So let's see. Do I need to separate anything? Docker build, I can see front end image, a build number, and then the front end folder, and then the backend unit. Okay, so let's give it a shot, and let's see what comes out of it. Okay, so we have our Docker build. So let's save. And let's build now. Okay. So what's this saying? It's saying Docker not found. That means the Docker command is not found. There are two ways to actually go about this. We can use the Docker plugin or we use the Docker command. However, regardless of how you choose to do it, Docker is not found on pretenses. How do I know that? Because we had the same issue when we encountered pip, and what it told us was that pip was not found. So let's go into our Jenkins container, and let's do um let's do Docker ISO version, and you can see that Docker is actually not found. So what do we do now? We have to install Docker on Jenkins. So basically, this is what they call Docker in Docker. You have heard this before. That is what they are telling me. You install Docker in a Docker container. So that's what they call Docker in Docker. So let's um let's go and search for install Docker. Or you can just do docker.io in docs.docker um docker.io. Okay, .docker.com. Yes. So install Docker docs. So we'll have to check the documentation. I always say whenever you want to install anything, any package, whatever it may be, the best is to install from the official documentation. That way you don't run into issues, because the official documentation will have everything that you need to actually um get it installed. So let's see our complicated package that I don't think they have anything that pertains to Docker, but well, let's fulfill all righteousness and run it. Okay, that says no update, and there's no sudo, so I'll have to remove sudo right now because I'm already running as a root. Okay. Now the problem now is I would have copied this straight, but because of the issue with the sudo, I've updated the app. I've already done sudo app update. I'll just take them one after the other and then run them. Okay. So I'm going to do this next. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we do this. So what we are doing is that we are adding the Docker's official GPG key. Okay. Then we go to the next. So we add a repository. I think we have to copy down to this. Yes. Okay. Then we do apt update again. So we now install Docker. Let's see. Screen an error. Okay. So think it did not install. What is this in repository? Does not have a release file. The thing from blah 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 blah. Okay. So I'm going to troubleshoot this. I'll pause the video and troubleshoot it, and then I'll be back to. Okay, so I was able to get what the issue is. So I was trying to install set up Docker for Ubuntu, while this Jenkins container is actually or a Debian OS. So so I'm going to go back to the Docker documentation and use the setup for Debian instead. So let me remove all the other packages that have been installed or that might have been set up. So all this. Okay, so all of the other installations that I've done before, I've successfully removed it. So we're just going to get it done again. So I'll just run it to post the video. Oh no, let me just continue. It just basically be the same thing of this. So it has updated everything that has to do with Docker. So let's install Docker. Okay, so we have that installed. I don't know where this permission denied there, but let's see if it doesn't disturb our Docker. If it doesn't disturb our Docker, then I think we are good to go. So let's see. Good. So this message shows the installation appears to be working correctly. So now we've installed Docker on our Jenkins container. So we don't know what is Docker and Docker. So if somebody asks you if you understand what here in the it is Docker in Docker, you can then tell them that yes, we have it understand and then open Docker. We've done it. So it means you are installing Docker in a Docker, container. So we can now go ahead and, run our pipeline again. Yeah. So we go to, so we don't need to actually, change anything. We just build again. So I believe it should work this time around because now we have Docker in our Jenkins container. Okay, so permission denied. We're trying to connect to Docker API at Unix, blah blah blah. Now we're supposed to do one extra thing before running this. It skipped my mind, but what are we going to do now? Now remember that this place we are logged in as root, but in an ideal situation, we are not running we are not running our pipeline as root. We are running it as a Jenkins user. Remember that when you want to log in, like, when you want to log in, normally you log in as a Jenkins user. I had logged in as root so that I can be able to install something. So what you do now is that whenever you install Docker, Docker creates a group. Let me show you. Cards etc stash. Let me check this first. Okay, and then I need group slash group. So now you can see that there is a Docker group. There is a Docker group, and for your Jenkins user to be able to run a Docker command, we need to add Jenkins user to the Docker group. So we are going to do user mode. When we covered Linux, we used user mode. So you can see that we are using commands and concepts that we've learned since the beginning of this this 100 days to show you that no part of this series is a waste. So we're going to use user mode. We are going to -ag. So we are adding a user to the group. The group is Docker, and then we are adding the Jenkins user to that group. So when I click enter, if I go to etc.password and I go to Jenkins user, etc.group, and I go to, you can see that the Docker group, the Jenkins user has been added to it. So now my Jenkins should be able to run the Docker command. So let's see. If it does not work, then we might have to restart the container. But let's see. Let's see if it works. Let's see if it works. If I'm still having permission denied, we'll have to restart the container. Okay, permission denied. We're trying to connect. So let's restart the container. Exit. Let me be sure. Group. Yes. So exit. Let me get Docker ps Docker stop. So I'm stopping this container. Okay, don't even need to do that. Just do ls and do docker compose down. So we are bringing it down. Good. So we are going to do docker compose up. So we're going to bring up the container again. Oh no, should have used a -d. No, I'm going to have to stop this. So I'll stop this. I'll stop this. I don't want it to run in an attached mode so that I can be able to do other things that I want to do. Anyway, let me duplicate tab. Okay, so docker compose ps. Let me see. Okay, there's nothing running. So docker compose up -d, and let me see if this one has stopped. I want to believe this has stopped. So I'll close this terminal and run this. Okay, so docker ps. No, I think I have done something. Jenkins is still on. Okay. So I can see the mistake. The mistake is that I was working with a different Docker Compose file. So let me go to Jenkins and I have my compose file, so I can do Docker Compose ps. Okay, so I'll do Docker Compose down, so I can bring this down.
So it's stopping Jenkins. So I was stopping the wrong containers those other times. So let's wait for Jenkins to actually stop so that we can rerun it. Okay. So I'll just do docker compose up -d. I run it in detached mode. So let me reload this. Obviously, it will tell me to log in again. While this is loading, let me do docker exec -it and docker ps to get the ID. Docker exec -it this bash and I do cat /etc/group on oh. Oh. Now all my setups, all my installations are all gone because I restarted the container. This is a big issue. So I have to like do everything, from scratch again, like start installing all those other stuff. So I'm just going to end the video from here while I set up. I'm going to like set up everything. So maybe in the next video I would have done all of that. Then we can continue and maybe wrap up the pipeline. So I'll see you again in the next video. Cheers.